The victims here and some had something in common, girlfriends, save for the baby Abigail. Strangulations using his bare hands and burning the bodies thereafter. The two deceased persons here made it to 3 persons he killed with his bare hands by strangulation, according to his own admission. This kind of criminal conduct calls for a more severe sentence than the first one because he had now made it a habit to kill. 15 of the sentencing guidelines provides for taking into account the remand period. The convict has been on remand since 31st of March 20. Considering the circumstances under which the 2 counts were committed, where 2 lives were lost, and considering the fact the convict is a repeat offender, the convict is sentenced to 35 years imprisonment on each count, less the period spent on remand from 31st of March 2021 to 13th of December 2023, which is 2 years, 8 months and 13 days, leaving him with a balance of 32 years, 3 months and 17 days. Since the offenses were committed in a single transaction, the sentences are to run concurrently. That is in this file. You have a right of appeal against the sentence only, but not conviction, because it was on your own plea of guilty within 14 days from to date. It was alleged that he murdered Nabire Noreen on the 14th day of March 2021 at Mujomba Zone 6, Nakulabye, Rubaga Division, Kampala. He pleaded not guilty the first time when he was arraigned before court on 4th September 2023, but on 23rd of October, when the matter came up for hearing, the accused on his own volition informed the court that he wanted to change his plea from not guilty to guilty. The charges were read to him in Luganda to his understanding, and the maximum sentence explained to him. He admitted the charge and court entered a plea of guilty. The facts of the case were equally explained to him to his understanding, and he admitted all the facts. He was consequently convicted on his own plea of guilty, hence this ruling on sentence and reasons. The land senior state attorney Caroline Tabaro in her allocutus submitted that the offense of murder is grave, attracting a maximum sentence of death with a starting point of 35 years according to the sentencing guidelines. She prayed for more than 35 years because of the following reasons. A. The convict is a repeat offender, this being the fourth case against him, that is the fourth person he had murdered against him. On the 31st July 2023, he was convicted of the murder of Ahereza Maclean. On 23rd October 2023, he was convicted of the murder of Kansime Violet and Nakten Abigail. It was a series of murders committed in only 3 weeks. The murder was so brutal that he strangled her until her brain was injured as he used excessive force during strangling. And having a quarrel over money didn't necessitate killing someone. He kept her body in the room and went to play Ludo as if nothing had happened. She submitted this does not reflect the mind of a 23-year-old youth. In her opinion, he was practically tapping himself on the back for a job well done. That's when he went to play Ludo. He went and bought a sisal silk and burnt her body. This was inhuman. It was on those grounds that she prayed for life imprisonment. In mitigation, Counsel Zimbe Zafanaya for the accused submitted that the convict has a previous record, having committed 3 offenses to different victims. All that happened between 12th of March 2021 and 15th of March 2021. He submitted it's only God who knows why he committed those offenses in 2 days. Being a youth, he believes that he has learned and is still learning the consequences of this criminality. He prayed court exercises its leniency and gives a rehabilitative sentence. He submitted he was a street child. He prayed for a lenient sentence of 30 years and that court orders that all the sentences run concurrently because they were all committed in the area of Nakulabi Makerere and in the same period of time. The convict was shown pictures of the deceased and the court asked him how he felt. He responded by saying he felt bad, and when asked what punishment he thinks he deserves, he took long to respond before finally saying he deserved 30 years because it was not intended. I listened carefully to the submissions of the State Attorney Nalochitas and the Land Defense Council in mitigation. Court looked at the accused's files and observed that this was actually the third file in a sequence of the convict's murderer's criminal conduct. His first reported murder case was that of 22nd February 2021, where he murdered McLean Ahereza. Followed by the murder of Kansime Violet on 12th of March. This one that was committed on 14th March, just 2 days after. Court is therefore following the sequence of the murders while sentencing the convict. In the instant case, the only mitigating factor is the plea of guilty, which is always considered as a sign of remorse, and possibly the fact that the convict was a youthful man of 23 years old. Being a former street child, because it was mere submission from the bar with no supportive evidence. According to the convict himself, he was a businessman in Kiseka Market and a family man with a wife and a child. He was not living a street life. The aggravating factors in this case are the following. Convict killed the deceased person in such a gruesome way. He killed her simply because they had a quarrel over money, according to the accused's own admission. According to the post-mortem report and admitted facts, she was strangulated by the convict, who went to play Ludo like nothing had happened. He later bought a sack and petrol, put her body in it, took it away from his room, dumped it, and set it ablaze. He did not only kill the deceased, but burnt her body to ensure she is not recognized by her relatives. This kind of behavior exhibits a very depraved mind. It shows how cruel and barbaric the convict is. This was the third girlfriend he was murdering and disposing of the body in a similar style, to wit, burning the body with petrol. The convict had become a serial killer within a space of few weeks, and it is hard to imagine the magnitude of the damage he would have continued to cause if he had not been apprehended by the police. The aggravating factors herein far outweigh the mitigating factors. This kind of criminal conduct calls for retribution and deterrent sentence that will enable the convict to reflect on his criminal conduct and at the same time protect the public, especially young women, from his sadistic personality disorder as exhibited in his conduct. He derived pleasure in killing young girls after playing sex with them and burning their bodies thereafter. This court has the responsibility to show the public that human life is sacred by punishing offenders who unlawfully, with malice aforethought, murder others in cold blood. It's the duty of this court to condemn criminal conduct by meting out punishments that are deterrent, and where the offender has become a serial killer, like in the instant case, retribution is very necessary. He has to be held accountable for his heinous crime. This court will take into account the fact that the convict pleaded guilty and owned up to his crimes without wasting court's time and resources. The convict should, however, understand that the purpose of the sentence court is about to pronounce is to promote respect for the law in order to maintain a just, peaceful, and safe society, and to promote initiatives to prevent crime. This court shall therefore pass a sentence aimed at, among others, denouncing unlawful conduct, deterring the offender from committing crime, and deterring other would-be offenders. In this particular case, court needs to pass a sentence that will deter the convict from killing women ever again, and also deter any other potential serial killers from committing similar offenses. Ideally, the convict herein deserves life imprisonment, but because of his plea of guilty, court will not impose it. Considering the circumstances under which the crime was committed and the fact that the convict pleaded guilty, much as he is a repeat offender, he is sentenced to 30 years imprisonment paid for, less the period spent on remand from the 31st of March to 13th of December 2023, which is 2 years, 8 months, and 13 days, leaving him with a balance of 27 years, 3 months, and 17 days. You have a right to appeal against the sentence and not conviction because it was on your own plea of guilty within 14 days from today.
Session case number 225 of 2022,
where it was alleged that he murdered Mutesi Elizabeth at Nakulabye, Mujomba Zone 6, Rubaga Division, Kampala. He was convicted on his own plea of guilty. The body of the late Mutesi was set ablaze after the cruel murder. The convict exhibited his disrespect to her even after death. By nature, human beings respect the dead and accord them respect. The convict exhibited his barbaric and ferocious heart towards human beings.
n'omutima gwo ogwali erinnya ery'abantu.
Much as she was already dead at the time, her lifeless body was set ablaze, yet her body deserved respect to enable her relatives mourn her.
Newankubadde nga omukyalo yali amaze okufa, omubiri gwe gwaguteekera omuliro ng'ate omubiri gwali gusaana weewa ekitiibwa gusobole okuteekera abantu ab'enganda ze basobole okumukubagira.
The photographs and postmortem reports are just horrendous to look at.
Ebifaananyi eby'emibiri gy'abagenzi wamu ebbaluwa bamukebera emibiri gy'abagenzi bingi okugitunulako.
He caused a lot of trauma to the family of the late Elizabeth Mutesi.
Waleeta okutabaniza mu birowoozo kungi nnyo ku famire y'omugenzi Elizabeth Mutesi.
His character can only be described as wicked, satanic, and evil.
Eneeyisa yesobola kunnyonnyola embi nnyo ey'obwasitaani.
By the time he murdered Mutesi, he had turned murdering of young girls he would lure into a love relationship, into a kind of game or sport for him.
Mu kiseera kyewakiramu Mutesi wali okutte omulimu guno gw'okutta abawala ng'obalimbalimba nti obaagala ng'ogukuudde ng'omuzannyo.
He had become a habitual sadist who enjoyed causing pain to his girlfriends.
Wali obukuusemuze wali onyumirwa ng'otuusa obulumi wali abaagalwawo.
The convict abused the trust that comes with a romantic relationship to commit a heinous act, betraying the expectations of care and protection.
Abasingisa omusango atyobola obwesigwa bwe baakuteekamu bwali bwakwagalana ng'okola ekikolwa ekyali ekibi ennyo ng'otyobola obwesigwa kye bali bakusuubiramu ekyokubalabirira n'okubakuuma.
The absence of any apparent provocation, coupled with the method of killing, which was strangulation during a seemingly ordinary activity, emphasizes the truly disturbing and cold-blooded nature of the crime.
Engeri gye tewali akasa kinyola engeri kyongera okukakasa engeri gye watamu abantu bano.
The convict, being a repeat offender, with all the 5 murders occurring within a short time frame, establishes a troubling pattern of criminal behavior that requires a long custodial sentence that will enable him to go through rehabilitation and spiritual cleansing.
Yasingisa omusango olw'okuba nti oli mwezi wa musango wa lulango nga watta abantu 5 mu kaseera katono nnyo. Taleeta embeera ey'okuzampa okw'emisango nga okusaane oweebwa ekibonerezo ekinene nnyo ekinakusobolesa okweza obujja n'okuteera mu mwoyo.
The fact that the convict does not have a history of mental illness indicates that the actions were not the result of an impaired mental state, but rather a conscious choice, highlighting the gravity of the offender's intent.
Engeri wali tewaliyo mbeera yonna eraga nti wali olina obuzibu ku bwongo, emisango giraga ekikolwa kino wakisalawo busazi nga kiraga nti kyali kigendererwa ki.
This court will take into account the fact that the convict pleaded guilty and owned up to his crimes without wasting court's time and resources. The 5th murder, the case of killing the 5th person.
Omusango guno Mutesi Elizabeth wa myaka 21 nga n'obulamu bwa mu maaso bwali bukyali butangaavu ng'omusango yakola gwakwagalana naawe.
The convict abused the position of trust.
Yasingisa omusango atyobola obwesigwa bwe.
As they watched a movie, he strangled her to death.
olw'okuba nti gasinsa omusango yali mwagala w'omukyalo oyo yali akusuubira nti olina kumukuuma
violent act.
tewali nsonga yonna era esobola kukugwirako okukola kikolwa ekyo.
The fact that he had no history of mental illness only points to the darkness of the soul that needs to be redeemed to save other females in the name of love.
Kivayo tulina omutima omuddugavu ennyo okulina okulokolebwa okuva eri abakyala abalala abalina okufuna obuzibu
The state prayed for life imprisonment to enable him to transform as he is kept away from the female. The defense counsel in mitigation followed the same submissions like in the previous cases, where decision of Arinaitwe versus Uganda, criminal appeal number 595 of 2014. He prayed that he should be sentenced to a rehabilitative sentence enough to help his daughter, who was now 6 years old. The last murder he committed before he was arrested and confessed to the murders. He murdered Maklina Heresa on 22nd February 2021. Kansime Violet and her baby Nakitende Abigail, Noreen and Mutes, that deceased in this fire, were murdered between 12th and 15th of March 2021.
Kansime Violet ne omwana we Nakitende Abigail Noreen ne Mutes nga misango gino yagiza wakati w'ina ku mwezi 12 ne 15
He had now graduated into an insatiable serial killer who would not even spend a few days without murdering a young female victim. The case of Arinaitwe versus Uganda, which was relied on by distinguishable and not comparable with this one. He did not set his dead victims on fire like the convict did in the present case. My act of discernment tells me that the convict is a psychotic serial killer who is brilliant and wants to manipulate court by his plea of guilty in all their heinous crimes in order to attract a lenient sentence. He's appearing to be very remorseful, but he's a very dangerous young man, especially to the many beautiful and suspecting young women out there. He deserves to be removed from the public for some time to protect the society from his insatiable desire to kill his girlfriends and vulnerable persons. The style he adopted of pretending to be in love with his victims, was very attractive, yet he knew it was a highway to the grave for all his victims. Bearing in mind all these factors, the court must balance the need for justice, rehabilitation, and protecting the society. While the convict's youthful nature and semblance of remorse can be considered in mitigation, the severity and repeated nature of the crimes he committed, the absence of clear motive, and the danger posed to society might necessitate a more stringent sentence. Regulation 15 of the sentencing guidelines provides for taking into account the remand period. The convict has been on remand since 31st of March 2021. Due to the above reasons, the convict is sentenced to 40 years imprisonment, less the period spent on remand from 31st of March 2021 to 13th December 2023, which is 2 years, 8 months, and 13 days, leaving him with a balance of 37 years, 3 months, and 17 days. Counsel for the accused prayed that the sentences should run concurrently with his earlier sentences in criminal case number 2024 of 2022, 227 of 2022, and finally this case of 2025 of 2022. Section 122, subsection 1 of the Trial and Indictment Act provides that where a person, after conviction for an offense, is convicted of another offense, either before sentence is passed upon him or her under the first conviction, or before the expiration of that sentence, any sentence of imprisonment which is passed upon him or her under the subsequent conviction shall be executed after the expiration of the former sentence, unless the court directs that it shall be executed concurrently with the former sentence or any part of it.
Section 10:22 akasooka kagamba nti bw'abaawo omuntu asingisirwa omusango gwonna nga okumutegunaba kubeera kooti neyisa ekikwenzo nga okumutenaba obanga omulala ekikwenzo ekirala ekirala kiwedde okujjako nga kooti ekisiga ekiragiro nti ekikwenzo ekyo kitambulire wamu ebibonerezo ebinatambula mukibonezo kitambula kyokka.
I have considered the totality of the convict's criminal behavior. Apart from criminal case 226 of 2022, where there was a double murder of mother and child, all the other files involved separate planned incidences where he gruesomely murdered his girlfriends and set their bodies ablaze thereafter.
Ng'ogyeko mu musango gwa 226 ogw'omwaka 2022, omwami okutta maama n'omwana we, mu misango giri emirala gyakola mu ngeri ya njawulo nga watta abantu abo mu ngeri yali enjinjo nga baali baagabaawo ate oluvannyuma n'okya emibiri gyabwe.
He was very meticulous in the execution of his murderous intentions.
Waliwo amagezi mangi ng'otuukiriza ekigendererwa kye ky'okutta abantu abo.
Each life matters, and he deserves to be punished for each life lost.
Obulamu bwa muntu bwa nsonga era buli bulamu bwa muntu obugenda muganya okufuna ekibonerezo.
There is no case against him that is cognate to the other.
Tewali musango mulala gw'olina okwepaniza ku giri emirala.
They are all serious capital offenses that attract death sentence as the maximum.
Gyonna misango gya nnakumola ng'ekibonezo kino okweba ku misango egyo ekisembayo kyakusibikibwa bukalaba.
Had this court sentenced him to death or life, it would be different because he has but one life to live.
Singa kkooti eno ebadde yakusindika ku kalaba ate nga olina obulamu oli muntu omu olina obulamu bwa muntu omu,
it would be different
kyandibadde kyanjawulo
because he has one life.
Kyandibadde kyanjawulo kubanga olina obulamu omu.
The sentences would automatically be served concurrently.
Ekibonerezo oba okikoledde wamu.
It would be, I want you to interpret correctly, concurrently. They cannot execute him by hanging twice. He has one life. And neither can he serve a life imprisonment one after another because he still has one life.
Singa kkooti ebadde yakusindika kukalaba oba okusibibwa amayisa, ekibonezo wandibadde wakukikolera wamu kubanga oli muntu omu ate ng'olina bulamu bwa muntu omu.
However, since he was not given the maximum or the next sentence in severity, which is life sentence, this court has no cogent reason to direct that he serves the sentences for the crimes he committed on different dates, affecting different victims and families concurrently.
Nolwensonga nti kkooti tekuwadde ekibonerezo ekiririra ekyo ekyokusindika okukalaba nga kyo ky'ekyokusimba amayisa, kkooti terina nsonga lwaki ekola ekiragiro ku misango gyewadda ku nnaku ez'enjawulo ku bantu ab'enjawulo nga bava mu maka ga njawulo nti ebibonerezo bino obikole nga butambulira wamu.
Concurrent service of sentence is ideal when the offenses are cognate or committed in a single transaction.
Ekibonerezo ekifubwa nga kitambulira ku misango egy'enjawulo kibeera ku misango ng'omulala mutonotono ku musango omulala obanga emisango egyo gyagizibwa mu mulundi gumu.
That is why court ordered the convict to serve the sentence of the murder of the child and the mother that were killed on one night concurrently.
Yensonga lwaki kkooti eragidde ekibonerezo eky'okutta maama n'omwana we kitambulire wamu kubanga babata kiro kimu era mulundi gumu.
Prayer for the defense counsel on behalf of the convict is therefore rejected.
Okusaba kwa looyawo ku luddalo n'olwekyo kkooti eno egaanye.
I have carefully and judiciously evaluated the circumstances surrounding the convict's criminal conduct.
Wegendereza nuyite eneeyisaayo gyewakola nga okolezamu emisango gino.
And his plea of guilt in all the criminal cases against him.
N'ekikolwa kye eky'okukiriza emisango gino gyonna.
His youthful nature, which are the only mitigating factors in this case.
N'emyaka gye gikyali emito nga z'ensonga zokka ezikula ezigenda ku kibuga ekiyinza okuweebwa.
I've also considered his target in crime.
Tunuuliriza ekyali ekigendererwa kyo mu misango gino.
The young, very vulnerable women and children.
Ng'ali ogendera bakyala bato n'abaana.
And the gruesome manner in which he killed them by strangulating the women he had just made love to, using his bare hands, draining life out of them, not one but several of them on different occasions, and thereafter carrying their lifeless bodies, dumping them and burning them using a highly inflammable substance he disclosed as petrol or paraffin, killing 4 young women and 1 child within a period of less than a month, which aggravates the sentence.
N'ogisuula n'ogifumako omuliro ng'okozesa ekintu ekisobola okwaka obulungi ng'akozesa petrol oba amafuta n'ota abakyala bana n'omwana omu mubanga erya mwezi gumu n'olisajula ekibonerezo ekiyinza okuweebwa.
I have observed that not only young women are at a risk with him out there, but also young children, including his own daughter, making him a very dangerous serial killer who should be confined for some time.
Netegeeza nti ono si wa bulabe eri bakyala bokka naye n'abaana abakyali abato nga ne muwala we mwali ekinkula omuntu w'obulabe ennyo alina okusigala nga asiba okumala akaseera.
I can describe his conduct as extremely wicked, shockingly evil and vile.
Nsobola kunnyonnyola enneeyisaayi embi nnyo etiisa ennyo era nga yabutemu nnyo.
He was indeed the killer on the loose until he was arrested just like in the short horror movie of The Killer on the Loose of 1956.
Yali mutemu yali atayanga mu muzanyo ogw'ekibwa The Killer on the Loose ogwa 1956.
Unfortunately, the story of Musasizi is not a fiction, but based on the true story. He was one time the killer on the loose in Nakulavye. The sentence should exhibit justice for the victims of crime, as his conduct had a bone-chilling intensity on the community of Nakulavye, Kampala and Uganda at large, especially the young girls or women. For the above reasons, he deserves to be out of circulation for some good time as a security measure for the vulnerable young women. I've realized that I have no legal or moral grounds to order his sentences to be served concurrently, as pleaded by his able advocate, Prince Zephaniah Zimbe. I have not found any exceptional circumstances that would motivate me to order for concurrent service of the sentences in heinous crimes. In the result, I direct that he serves the sentences in XCT 00CR-CS T24 of 2022, HCT 00CR CS 0226 of 2022, HCT 00CR CS of 0227 of 2022, and finally in this one HCT 00CR CS 225 of 2022, cumulatively or consecutively, that is one after the expiration of the other. You have a right to appeal against the sentence only and not against conviction, because it was on your own plea of guilt within 14 days from today.
Mbeera nansana naye muwala wange ono n'omuzukulu banzigibwako emyezi egyogeddwako mu kooti n'ebbanga eryo eryogeddwako mu kooti. Omulenzi omusajja oyo abadde mu kooti yali yayagala omuwala ono naye yamwagala n'olubuto. Omwana ono si wuwe, yamwagala ng'ali lubuto n'azaalibwa nga mwina nyo, baali bamukwano nga baagalana. Naye mu bbanga eryo eryogeddwako mu kooti nintegeezebwa omukyalo ono, mukyala wange wa muganda wange, naye muganda ge yafa, so nangamba muwalawo twafunye amawulire nti yattiddwa. Ninzijja netukwatagana n'omukyalo ono netukakasa nti muwala waffe mufu. So ekibonerezo kyaleero nze nga nze omuntu omu sibadde musanyufu olw'ensonga nti omukyalo ono bwe yamala okufa twamala ebbanga lya myezi 2 nga tuli ku mataba, oba mugayita amataba mu Luganda simanyi, nga tukungubaga nga bagenze kukokola okucekinga omuntu yali afudde obubi nga tebakakasa nti muntu waffe. So ebbanga eryo lyonna nga tebanatukkiriza kuziika, twali mu expenditure nga tukumye nzija nga tukungubaga kwa mirundi 3. Efort omuwala gyenzaalibwa, Kampala gye yagibwa okufa, ne taata w'omwana nga lwatukumye olwoto enjoto ezo zonna naye twali tufulumya. So sibadde musanyufu, si bwenkanya, tebatunulidde ebbanga lye twamala. Twagiddwako omuntu waffe n'ebbanga lye twamala nga tuli mu kubonaabona paka kati. So
mubadde mwagala kooti ekole ki?
Kooti ekibonerezo ekisookerwako bamuwadde ekitone ky'emyaka 35, so tebatunulidde abantu abagiddwako omuntu waabwe bbanga kirye bamaze nga babonabona nga tutambula. So kyosiga kyokungula fine, oba okoze ogwokufa osaanidde ofe, kubanga Bayibuli etugamba kyosiga kyokungula. So yabadde musi naye yaliitiddwa, wadde bamuwadde emyaka 3. Kale newalero si mufu, emyaka gy'alyengedde ate si myaka nga 6, asobole okubeerayo nga bamudisipulininga nga naffe abasigadde ebweru tulabe ekikolwa ekyo nga abantu basobola okutereera mu nsi. So naye mu byonna nti twafulumya kinene nga gavumenti, kubanga yeesaze omusango, yalitunulidde abantu abaviiriddwako abantu baabwe, at least naffe ne netuliyirira nokyali badde kitono, naye nga gavumenti etunudde nti omuntu ono tiyabaabubawo, tiyava mu ggulu najja ku nsi, naye yazaalibwa era abaamukuza abaamuweerera tubadde bantu nga tufulumya.
Amanya bampitako Embaga Josephine, ndi mutuuze Makerere Kivu. Omwana ono mwana mulamu wange naye yafa era yali ampita maama. Omwami wange yasooka okufa, maama we ono n'addako. Kati maama we yamala okufa nemugjayo gye mbeere naye. Nabeera naye nga tanaba kutandika kusoma, n'asoma okuva ku nasare paka P7. Kasente zimwongerayo nezikola ki nezibula, nembeera naye awo. Kati awo yafunira olubuto. Manya abaana bawala tosobola kubeera nabo ng'oli awo okuumye. Jjukira nali nkola kiro ng'abalekawo waka njera kuba. naye nagenda okudda ndaba embeera ze ezikyuse ndaba ngaali olubuto nembuuza kansiima oli lubuto nangamba endi lubuto naye nanyine lubuto nkoze eki mumanyi nembeera naye nazaala omwana we era oyo ayamutta yamujja waka nga manyi gyalaze swega nti yali agenze simanyi zakoze eki gyatalaze yamukubira esimu zaali saa 6 gwa kiro namugambye enkya obwa togira ddala kati naye nayambala nasitula omwana nansibula nakola ki nagenda nebino byonna ebyaliwo okuttibwa abantu nga manyi nti owange gyali mulamu nagenda okulya bankuba ekirango nti nakansime naye mufu omwana okufa nagendayo nendaba naye nga tosobola kutegeera nti omwana wuwo nenkaaba nebangamba naye gwokabira nnyo abantu botamanyi kumbi nkwatiddwako ku mutima nti omwana wange naye nga tosobola mumutegeera nti wuwo ebyo ebyange
olimu makimu n'ekibonerezo
ekibonerezo siri musanyufu naye yali badde afuna eboneze nga beyawa banne n'abaata ate naddamu n'abookya naye bali badde bamukolako buli kanaku ekibonezo ekyawulira naye nga kikoze eki nga kimuluma ku mutima gwe nga bwe yabonereza banne katonda kyali badde amusasira ekyo
Gisukami.